All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You are now tuned into the morning show with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist. Hopefully, you're having a good day. Some of these markets are definitely not having a good day. US dollar index is up 16 pips at 105.84. Euro is off 10 pips at 107.18. Pound sterling up 2 pips at 124.55. Oz down $1,680, trading at 64,755. Still in a trading range. Ethereum futures down 41 and a half points at 3,179.50. Crude oil futures down 73 cents at $82.63 per barrel. Now gas off 11 cents at a buck 70. And gold down $1.10 an ounce, trading at $2,341 per ounce. Silver down 6 cents, trading at $27.30 an ounce. Copper up 2 cents at 446. Dow futures off 123 points at 38,603. E-mini S&P 500 futures down 12 and a half at 50.93 and 3/4. And the E-mini NASDAQ 100 is up 9.25 points at 17,616 even. And the Russell My Hustle is at 2,000.5, down 14.4 points. All right, so here's what we got as far as news today. I think, excuse me, the word of the day is going to be censorship. Censorship. You know, there comes a time when the voice of the people will not be heard because the powers that be pulled the plug on the microphone. They cut off all of the exits, trapping everyone in the movie theater. And that's not a good thing. You need to be able to voice your opinions. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has a right to free speech and to voice your opinion. Even if you are speaking lies, misinformation, disinformation, hallucinations, fairy tale myths, and fantasies, you have a right of free speech and freedom of expression. There's also the rights of the press. If you are a blogger or whatever, a reporter of any kind, a truth teller, whatever, you have a right to voice your truth, your opinions, and you have the right to ask questions, hard questions, difficult questions, uncomfortable questions. Freedom of speech is paramount in a free society. You must have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, right to travel, freedom of movement, freedom of assembly. You have to have these things in order to have a free society. Government should not trample on these rights, these God given rights. But see, we're starting to realize, especially in the West, that there are no such things as rights or freedoms. What we are seeing in the United States of America and even abroad in some places, especially in the West, we're seeing that your freedom and rights have been redefined as privileges. You don't have the right of free speech, you have the privilege of free speech. See, once you redefine rights and freedoms as privileges, then you give the power to the government to either give these things or take them away. When something's a privilege, it's not a guarantee, it's not a right, it's not a freedom, it's something that is given to you by the government. And therefore, if the government can give you something, the government can take it away. You say freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, they say privilege of speech, privilege of assembly. Everything is the devil's in the details. They'll say you have freedom of speech, but you cannot speak on these topics. They say you have freedom of assembly, but no, you can't assemble right here. You have to assemble over there or assemble in an assigned area that's been predetermined and given to you by the government. You don't have rights and freedoms in America. What you have is tyranny because everything that you do, you have to get permission for. So they say you have freedom and you have rights, but really, no, you don't. You have permissions. Everything has become a permission and a privilege. We give you permission. You can do nothing in the United States without permission from the government. And I mean nothing. You cannot drive on the roads without permission from the government. You cannot set up and open up a shop without permission from the government. And the government either grants you the permission in the form of a privilege after a shakedown, after you've paid ransom money. The government shakes down its citizens at every turn. If you want permission to do something, you have to break the government off. I don't care if they call it a licensing fee, but really what it is, it's a tax. Something that will be put on you if you were in the underworld and doing business with a mafia or a cartel. They say in order to move weight in this area, you got to pay a tax. We want a piece of the action. And that's basically what your government is doing to you. Your government is saying, we want a piece of the action. Oh, you go to work a 9 to 5 every day? Well, then you're going to break Uncle Sam off a piece of the action. Oh, you're making $10 an hour? Uncle Sam is going to say, I need at least 280 out of that. You got to break me off a piece of that per hourly salary you got. You make 10 now, you make 8 now because I'm gonna need at least $2 out of that. Oh, what? You hit the lottery? You hit the number for $1 million? Oh, well, congratulations. But listen here. Um, Uncle Sam is gonna say, you need to break me off a piece of that. So this is what we're gonna do. All right, if you want a lump sum, you really didn't win the $1 million. Not technically, not actually technically. Uncle Sam's gonna say, tell you what, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you the lump sum, but you got to break me off 50% of that, right? Right off front. Just break me off my 50. And then you're going to have to file a tax return, and I'm gonna take another 15, 20, 20, 30, 40% of that's how we're going to do this. Oh, you want to set up a business? Oh, okay. Tell you what, break me off a piece. All right, I'm gonna have to hit you with the self-employment tax. Okay, in addition to your regular scheduled income tax. But yeah, I might do you with a self-employment tax because you want to go outside the system, right? You want to get outside the rat race. You don't want to be 9 to 5. You don't want to be my slave. So you got to pay me in order not to be my wage slave. You got to break me off a self-employment tax. Okay. That's how we're going to do this. So whether you know it or not, to all my entrepreneurs out there, you have a partner. There's no such thing as a sole proprietorship in America. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. There is no sole proprietor. Every business, even if you call yourself a sole proprietor, you have a business partner. You have a silent partner who's not so silent, and it's called Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is your silent business partner. You must break him off every year without fail under the threat of violence and incarceration. That's right. Under the threat of violence and incarceration. If you do not break Uncle Sam off, he's not going to break your kneecaps like the mafia. No, no, no. He's way more subtle. He's just going to break your spirit because he's going to tax you to death, hit you with fines and fees, and throw you in a cage. Now, when you're in the cage with other animals, you may get your kneecaps broken or something else worse happen to you. But that's not Uncle Sam's concern. His concern is that you break him off that money. Oh, and while you're incarcerated, if you decide that the way you're going to do your time is to work a job, well, Uncle Sam's going to pay you like maybe 5 cents an hour or 5 cents a day, and he's going to tax you on that too. You're going to break him off some of that too. All of your labor of any kind, you must break Uncle Sam off. Every penny you receive, even if someone gives you a penny, Uncle Sam is saying you're going to have to break that penny in half. You got to break me off. And that's not, it doesn't end there. Your so-called rights and freedoms are trampled on even more because at every turn, every time you buy or sell something, Uncle Sam is standing there with his hand out saying, "Oh, you just bought an apple. You just bought an apple. Well, tell you what, I'm not hungry right now," Uncle Sam says to you. "So I'm not gonna take a bite out of your apple. Instead, I'm gonna say, how much did you pay for the apple? 30 cents? Okay, I need like 3 cents. Break me off, run me my 3 cents real quick." What? Well, I don't understand. Well, I didn't make money. I just spent money, Uncle Sam. No, there's a tax. I have to tax you. It is a tax. Every time you spend money, Uncle Sam is standing there with his hand out saying, "I want a piece. I want a piece." So every time you buy something, that's a tax. At the end of the day, you're paying anywhere between 50 to 70 different taxes a day, in addition to your income tax. You got Social Security tax, Medicare tax. You got all these taxes you can't even name. Then you have your local and state tax, school tax. You might not even have any children, but you're going to pay that school tax. But Uncle Sam, I don't have any kids. Is that my problem? Run me my money. That's what you're going to hear. Uncle Sam will say, "Run me my money." Personal property tax. You got to pay real estate tax. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different taxes, and you have to pay them. What is a tax? A tax is nothing more than being shaken down. And they will do it at gunpoint if necessary. They have done it at gunpoint. Read the stories. So I'm sorry to inform you, America, but you are not free and you have no rights. What you have is privileges in the form of permissions if you're willing to pay for it. That's what you have. It even costs you money to die in America. There's a death tax. There's an inheritance tax. There's a gift tax. There's a tax on tax and a ticky-tack tax. There's so many taxes you can't even name them. Not to mention there's so many laws on the books, including old and archaic laws. There are hundreds of thousands of laws. Some laws that have been forgotten and due to time, but they've never been deleted. So they're still in the books and active to this day and can actually be enforced when necessary, when it's politically important to do so. If there's a political benefit to be had, they will pull out an archaic law in a minute. Yeah, it's against the law to wash your donkey in the bathtub. And if you get caught washing your donkey in the bathtub and you have political enemies and you're in the land of politics operating, oh, they're gonna pull out the Polaroids on you. And that here's pictures of him washing his donkey in the bathtub. Your Honor, that's a felony in this state. And the minimum guidelines say he must do 5 years in prison. There's no if or buts about it. He washed his donkey in the bathtub and we got proof. We even got DNA evidence that we gathered. That's right. We got a judge to sign off on a warrant, and we came in the house and we took DNA samples of the donkey and all of that. We have proof. We have forensics going there, and we saw all these hair fibers from the donkey. We got hoof marks on the walls and in the tub and on the floors in the bathroom, Your Honor. This is an open and shut case. He's guilty. Lock him up. That's the world you live in. That's the reality, the harsh reality of where you live. So censorship, that's the next logical step, right? Because if everything is a privilege that has to be granted to you by the powers that be, that means it can be taken away. And no better example than we have is social media. We'll come back to this. In the meantime, poor Kathy Wood is in the news again. Investors are jumping ship. Threads now has more daily US users than X. And America produces 40 million tons of plastic waste a year. And they're claiming they're running out of space to put it. But Tesla is trying to turn things around. But the earnings report was worse than expected. So you're getting a technical bounce. I think earlier it was like up like $12 on the day or something like that. But Tesla's disappointing earnings is illustrated how bad a year it's really having. The EV maker missed profit and revenue estimates, but those weren't the only ugly numbers. Tesla's free cash flow was negative $2.5 billion in the quarter, a shocking 674% year over year drop. The company did point out it spent $1 billion on AI infrastructure investment this quarter, however. Those figures aren't what you want to see from a public company. And even though Tesla tried to pin the blame on hybrids, such a bad earnings miss isn't usually something Wall Street overlooks. Except that's exactly what investors have done. Details on its robo-taxis plan and news of expending the release of an affordable model were all Wall Street needed to get back in on Tesla. Shares popped nearly 11% in pre-market trading, and a big win for the company, down more than 40% on the year. So Tesla's ambitions around robo-taxis and an affordable model tap into key trends, speeding up the launch of cheaper Tesla models, whenever that may be. Details on a timeline were relatively scant, addresses a consumer that has shifted away from wanting big, expensive EVs. Discussions of robo-taxis, meanwhile, allows Tesla to ride the stock market's AI wave that has sent other companies' stock prices skyrocketing over the past year. Perhaps that's why Musk spent so much on the earnings call discussing autonomy and the progress made with Tesla's full self-driving software. But having a plan is one thing. Executing it is something else entirely. Musk, for all his accomplishments, hasn't always held firm to future milestones he's targeted. To that point, we need to take a deeper dive. The CEO argues it's ultimately responsible for Tesla squandering its lead in the EV market and not better insulating itself from threats when things were going well. Considering Musk's closest ties with some of Tesla's board members, such a drastic move is a long shot. A more realistic request might be Musk pulling back on other responsibilities, but that also seems unlikely. Musk told analysts on the earnings call that Tesla is the majority of his work. Ultimately, Musk's fate could be decided by investors. Tesla is seeking shareholder approval for Musk's $55 billion pay package, which a Delaware judge has already struck down. If investors vote against the package at Tesla's annual meeting in June, who knows where Musk and his AI ambitions will end up. The March sell-off in stocks could be the start of something bigger. JP Morgan's Marco Kolanovic highlighted a problematic backdrop in equities that investors seem to be ignoring. Stubborn inflation and geopolitical concerns aren't going anywhere and put additional pressures on investors to de risk. Kathy Wood's investors are heading for the exits. Outflows for Wood's ARC funds are ramping up after a 3-year decline. This year alone, the suite of ARC's ETFs have net outflows of $2.2 billion, which is triple what it endured last year. Stocks for a strong economy, Goldman Sachs highlighted 30 names that they think will outperform the market because they're investing heavily in future growth opportunities like artificial intelligence. Meta, Intel, and Micron Technology were among the stocks that the bank targeted. Microsoft is blocking employee access to Perplexity AI. Perplexity AI is one of the largest customers of Microsoft's Azure Open AI service. Other AI tools like Google's Gemini chatbot are also blocked on Microsoft's employee devices. Threads has overtaken X in one key metric. New data shows Meta's Threads is constantly surpassing Elon Musk's X in daily users in the United States. While X still has more monthly users, Threads could be on its way to becoming bigger than its competitor. Naven's IPO. The A16Z backed travel and expense platform, which was valued at $9.2 billion back in October of 2022, is targeting an April 2025 public listing, a person with direct knowledge spoke out about. And America is drowning in plastic, yada, yada, yada. Amazon won over skeptical advisors since launching 3 months ago. Prime Video's ads have made a positive impression on advertisers, luring them in the generous price initiative and sponsorships. And the Senate passed a bill that could ban TikTok. Joe Biden has signaled that he'll sign the legislation, which would effectively ban TikTok from the U.S. App Store. The final vote was 79 senators in favor and 18 opposed. The FTC is fighting for your right to job hop, whatever that means. 18 senators voted against Ukraine and Israel aid. The American Kennel Club's pedophile problem. Patriots owner Robert Kraft yanks support for Colombia as Israel-Gaza protests intensify. Apple sinks to third place in China as iPhone sales slide. And something about people going on a date with a chat bot, and the chat bot fell head over heels for them. And in earnings, we have Boeing, Meta, and IBM, among other companies. And the U.S. Supreme Court will hear the Idaho abortion ban case. You know, you can't make this stuff up. But one of the problems we're talking about was censorship. For those that don't know, X, which is supposed to be a staunch supporter of free speech, all right? But then this happens. So X blocks India election posts at request of authorities. India's election commission claims the posts by elected politicians, political parties, and candidates made unverified claims about the private lives of their opponents. Social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, announced Tuesday it had blocked several posts in India containing political speech after authorities ordered their takedown ahead of a 6-week general election that starts Friday. X, owned by Tesla chief Elon Musk, mentioned that the posts would be withheld from Indian audiences until the election was over, despite its disagreement with the order. In compliance with the orders, we have withheld these posts for the remainder of the election period, X said in a statement. However, we disagree with these actions and maintain that freedom of expression should extend to these posts and political speech in general. India's election commission claimed the posts by elected politicians, political parties, and candidates made unverified claims about the private lives of their opponents in violation of the body's code of conduct. India regularly ranks among the top 5 countries globally for the number of requests made by our government to remove social media. Yeah, the America is at the top of that list. Last year, an Indian court hit X with a $61,000 fine after the platform unsuccessfully challenged orders to remove tweets and accounts critical of Modi's government. Indian authorities have regularly imposed blanket internet shutdowns during periods of unrest. That includes a month long outage in the northeastern state of Manipur last year in the wake of ethnic violence. The Indian government claims internet shutdowns curb disinformation from spreading on social media or mobile messaging applications. You guys, this is a page taken right out of 1984. They just justify internet shutdown in an effort to curb disinformation. Really? That's a nice way to say, no, we're shutting down the internet so that you idiots don't find out what's really going on. Anything that has to do with investigation, they call disinformation. So instead of saying the Indian government shut down the internet during an investigation, that would make them sound culpable and guilty. So they say, we shut down the internet to curb disinformation. Who gets to decide what is true and what is false? They're basically saying that the people are too ignorant to decide from themselves. Isn't that what we do when we are looking at a courtroom in a trial by jury? Doesn't both sides, the defense along with the prosecution, don't they get to have their say and present their case? And then isn't it up to the jury to decide what they believe? Is that not the case? So what are we doing here, people? What's really good? You tell me. It's censorship. The powers that be don't want you knowing anything that they're doing. They don't want to be exposed. So they'll say anyone that is investigating or asking critical questions is spreading disinformation because you are questioning their narrative. But it doesn't just stop there. We talked about India, but what's going on here in the States? Well, Google terminates employees protesting against Project Nimbus. From arrest to job termination, Google is going the extra mile to consecrate its collaboration with Israel. Did you know that? Alphabet Inc.'s Google recently terminated 28 employees who participated in protests against Project Nimbus, a $1.2 billion collaboration with Amazon.com Inc. This joint venture aimed to supply the Israeli occupation with AI and cloud services amid the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Demonstrations organized by the No Tech for Apartheid group occurred at Google offices in New York City, Seattle, and Sunnyvale, California on Tuesday. In New York and California, protesters held a sit in lasting nearly 10 hours, while some recorded the events, including through a Twitch live stream. 9 individuals were arrested that evening on alleged trespassing. The incident was also confirmed via footage taken by one of the protesters and sent to the Washington Post, showing officers from the New York Police Department walking into the company premises and telling protesters they would be arrested if they didn't stop. When the employees refused, the police began to arrest them one by one. A deeper dive shows that after the protests, some workers, even those not participating directly in the sit in, received communication from Google's employee relations team notifying them of being placed on leave. The company emphasized confidentially, stating they would disclose information only on a need to know basis. Subsequently, on Wednesday evening, the affected workers were notified of their dismissal, as reported by a statement from members of Google staff involved in the No Tech for Apartheid campaign. Physically impeding other employees' work and preventing them from accessing our facilities is a clear violation of our policies and completely unacceptable behavior, Google said in a statement about the protesters. After refusing multiple requests to leave the premises, law enforcement was engaged to remove them to ensure office safety. We have so far concluded individual investigations that resulted in the termination of employment for 28 employees and will continue to investigate and take action as needed, it added. Google has traditionally upheld a culture of fostering open discussions. Yet in recent years, employee activism has challenged this stance. Organizers of a 2018 walkout protesting Google's handling of sexual assault allegations claimed the company retaliated against them for their activism. Additionally, four other employees alleged they were terminated for leading opposition against Google's collaboration with federal Customs and Border Protection, along with other workplace advocacy efforts. According to John Logan, a labor professor at San Francisco State University, under U.S. labor law, employees have the right to participate in collective action concerning their working conditions. Tech workers are expected to argue that this should empower them to unite in opposition to the utilization of the tools they develop. Tech workers are not like other kinds of workers, he said. You can make an argument in this case that having some sort of say or control or ability to protest about how their work product is being used is actually a sort of key issue. And isn't this an old thing, especially in the tech space, where they're all talking about intellectual property and right of use of property, leasing versus owning, and things of that nature? So the people that are actually making the intellectual property, shouldn't they not have a say about how that intellectual property is going to be used, unless you have them sign documents stating otherwise? Hmm. Two Google employees who participated in the California protest said, as quoted by Bloomberg, that a contingent of workers congregated on the sixth floor of Google's Sunnyvale office, where the Office of Cloud Chief Executive Officer Thomas Curran is situated, to demonstrate solidarity with those engaged in the sit in. The method by which Google identified participants in the protest remains ambiguous, as not all individuals had their badges scanned by security personnel. Additionally, some of those who were terminated were reportedly situated outside Google's office premises, as indicated by the employees. So, how do you explain that one? How do you make that part make sense? Now, another worker said, as quoted by Bloomberg, that Google might have labeled the dissension to initially suspend employees as confidential to maintain a positive public image. According to the worker, the demonstrators promptly exited the building when requested and didn't impede or disturb other employees. Meanwhile, employees protesting against Project Nimbus have witnessed increased backing following the sit in, according to one of the terminated workers. So here's the big picture. This comes mere days after Google negotiated with the Israeli occupation to deepen their partnership during the brutal war on Gaza, which has entered its seventh month recently with nearly 34,000 Palestinians killed, mostly women and children, a Google document viewed by the Time news site revealed. The tech giant has provided cloud computing services for the Israeli occupation for years. The Israeli Ministry of Security requested consulting help from Google to broaden its access to Google Cloud, aiming to enable multiple units to utilize automation technologies. A draft contract dated March 27th of 2024 indicates that Google billed the Israeli minister more than $1 million for this consulting service. A Google employee's comment on the document dated March 27th, requesting a signed copy of the contract, mentioned that the signatures would be completed offline as it's an Israeli Nimbus deal. The document also states that Google gave the ministry a 15% discount on the initial consulting fee as part of the Nimbus framework. Project Nimbus is a contentious $1.2 billion cloud computing and AI deal involving the Israeli government and two tech giants, Google and Amazon. Key figures in a growing movement within Google, dubbed No Tech for Apartheid, are pushing for the cancellation of Project Nimbus, with Israel in the wake of the ongoing Israeli genocide against Palestinians. Google employees cited three primary concerns driving their protests. First, the Israeli Finance Ministry's explicit statement in 2021 indicating that Project Nimbus would serve the Ministry of Security. Second, the types of services potentially made available to the Israeli government through Google's cloud platform. And third, Google's apparent inability to oversee how Israeli utilizes its technology. Yeah. So there you go. Again, censorship, squashing any uprising or protests, not allowing freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, going the extra mile. Yeah. You got big problems here, America, and you need to wake the heck up. As you know, this is our morning show. Hopefully, you got something out of this today. If you have, go ahead and smash that like button for me and subscribe if you haven't already done so you can be kept abreast whenever we go live with these reports. And remember, the system works if you work the system. Bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And on that note, I'll see you this evening. Peace.